Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of True Believers here on the Fandom Podcast Network. It is the 100th episode of True Believers, and we got a special one for you. But the first question of this podcast is, do I say it or do I not say it? I usually say it on the cartoon. It's the 100th episode. It's clobbering time! That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to talk about the Fantastic Four First Steps, and my apologies right out of the gate. If I do sound a little rocky like the thing, I'm fighting just a tad bit of a head cold. So I'm going to have to bring in some reinforcements from my own future foundation to help me get through this podcast. And, first and foremost, I've got to bring in, I'll call him, maybe, I don't want to say Franklin because I don't really want to give him cosmic powers, but he's a pretty special guy in his own right. Maybe a little bit of a hothead, a little bit of a Human Torch kind of guy. He's the one and only co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
Say it! Say it! It's clobbering time! What's up, buddy?
Hey, dude, we are here to talk Fantastic Four, but
dude, wait, hold on. 100 episodes of True Believers, man. 100 episodes.
Right here. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe we've made it this far, but hey, we think about it. A lot of Marvel, but there is at least one DC thing in there, which we will get to in just a minute. But I feel like I'm missing somebody. Like I can hear them, but I can't quite see them. I don't know. I can see pants, and not just any pants. I see super pants because it is the one and only Queen of Movie Foo. We might not see her, but I promise you we will hear her. It is the one and only Lacey Adderhold.
Hello. I'm so excited that you guys are celebrating my 10th True Believers with you guys. This is great.
That's awesome. We haven't been counting.
I made that up. It's like 9 or 10 at this point. I'm not sure.
Well, you know what, though? But we do need to stop for a minute because we have to give Lacey some props. We just have to give her a belated happy birthday.
Oh,
yeah, happy birthday. Woo.
I even have a little happy birthday wish from the other side of the planet because I spoke to the Lethal Mullet earlier and he said, please make sure to wish you a happy birthday as well. So
nice. Yes, I chatted with Adam earlier today, and I got a lovely message from your lovely wife, Kevin, Erin, yesterday or day before. She was the first person to wish me a merry birthday.
That's because she's in the future. She's in Australia right now.
Yes, yeah. Very exciting. So yeah, I've had a really exciting past several days. I have had lunches and dinners galore, and there are still more to come. I'm booked through like next Wednesday. It's a lot is happening.
So have all these super friends.
Right.
You see what I did there?
Absolutely.
And I've been using my special telepathic powers to our special kitty to make sure you get extra birthday attention.
Yes. The pumpkin. She's so cute.
Well, guys, before we get started here, just a reminder that you are watching True Believers on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, and we want to welcome everybody joining us. If you happen to drop into the YouTube chat, please leave some comments as we're going along. We love your interaction with us during the shows. And of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network where we aim to feed your ears with a few fun podcasts. And if you click on the QR code that's on your screen, if you're currently watching live on our YouTube channel, that will take you to our homepage at fpnet.podbean.com, where you can find all the great shows of the Fandom Podcast Network's audio versions, and just sit back all weekend and listen to our dulcet voices giving you all kinds of fun in fandom. But guys, we are here to talk the Fantastic Four. Is the latest addition to the MCU, a very interesting addition to the MCU. And we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this episode. But before we get going too far, there's some other things that have been happening around the Fandom Podcast Network and True Believers. We just want to give you a reminder of some of the things we've been up to around here. And it starts with some more recent Marvel entities, including Thunderbolts, which I think everybody around here loved for the most part. A very fun addition to the MCU. And of course, we had a huge showing and following for Daredevil Born Again. Kevin, our good friend Kat, joined us to talk all things Daredevil. Yes. And of course, recently too, we put out Ironheart, where we covered season 1 in a very interesting conversation. And then things went a little wonky. Kevin played with the Tesseract just a little bit too much. I've told you about this. He didn't listen, and it caused a chain reaction. And we crossed the streams. We were invaded by another comic book universe. and we've expanded the realm of True Believers. It's just not an MCU podcast anymore. It is a MCU, DCU, and comic book, film, and entertainment podcast. And we spent a huge show. We had a lot of great guests, including everybody that's here on the panel now. Our good friend Alex Autry, Scott Botman from our What a Piece of Junk podcast. And we talked all things Superman. And we had a great time with that. So check that out on the YouTube channel or on our podcast feed at fpnet.podbean.com. And of course, we are here to talk about the Fantastic Four. I'm excited. This movie's been in the works for a while. It's taken a few different directions, but we're going to talk about all of that. So without further ado, here, Kevin, would you do me a favor and explain to the good people out there how we do things here at True Believers?
Well, first, we do this. That is the sound of the phases. Here, we don't have segments. We have phases for the MCU podcast here. And the first one we have is the plot description, first reactions, and cast comments. Phase 2, we have trivia and Easter eggs, and maybe some cameo mentions. Phase 3, we go into the plot analysis, ties to the MCU and comics, any articles too. And also Phase 4, we'll do our final thoughts and maybe any predictions, and we'll close out there. But I think we have something we're going to be doing before we get into that, right, Kyle?
Well, yeah, we are talking about a movie, which means in today's modern world, going to the movies means not just going to see a movie. Oh, no. It also means popcorn. And that means getting popcorn buckets. And Fantastic Four has a lot of popcorn buckets. And Lacey is holding up one there. And Kevin has the same one. That looks like a pretty fantastic car to me, guys.
Yes. I saw.
Mine's not a bucket; it's a hat, right?
I had an opportunity to get the Galactus one. A friend of mine works at the theater, and she said that they were getting. She was literally putting them into the computer as I was standing there, and I just don't have space for it, man. It's like 17 feet long.
It is huge. And $80 and light up eyes and all that great stuff. But it is huge. But Kevin, give me a second here because I'm going to blow you up. And
ouch! Don't hurt.
Yeah, well, I don't have it. I'm all out of pin particles. But
for the listeners, I'm holding up the Fantastic Four car popcorn bucket that both Lacey and I have, and this is how it opens up if you choose to put any popcorn in or any other goodies in it. It's quite a sleek looking one. I had a chance to get like one of the other things too. I didn't see actually the Galactus, but I wasn't gonna get it because it's just too big.
Right?
It's really expensive, But at Comic-Con at AMC booth, they were selling stuff, and they actually sold out of a bunch of these Fantastic Four ones, including the Herbie one.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a minute. But guys, I have a question for you about that particular popcorn bucket.
I like the Fantastic Car. It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Question about that bucket though. Is it easier to get popcorn in it or a child seat?
I'm gonna say probably popcorn.
I think that if we were going for size comparison, I could fit a gerbil in there or a hamster, maybe a squirrel.
Yeah. Well,
why animals, Lacey?
Well, because there aren't any babies that big. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not going to puree an infant. That's the only way it's fitting in there. So
this podcast just turned very gruesome.
Yes.
I'm just
saying. So if you're looking at the video, you're seeing the Galactus popcorn bucket, and then you're seeing these Regal ones. Lacey, you go to Regal. Did you see these popcorn buckets and cups?
No, I did not see these popcorn buckets and cups. Apparently, matter of fact, I went to Regal yesterday for my birthday to get my free popcorn and my free drink. And I went and saw a movie there. And I was expecting to get the new beaver bucket from Naked Gun. And they told me that Regal has kind of regions. So sometimes, most of the time, everybody gets everything. But sometimes it's region specific, and I did not see those in Atlanta. Now that does not mean they do not exist somewhere else. They could be in Chicago or New York or wherever, but I did not see those.
I have to admit, I like these toppers, and I like this particular bucket with representing all four of them individually on the.
I don't know.
bucket.
I'm tired of the pop style figurines in the top. Give me like just a small, normal size figure of what the characters look like. I'm tired of pops.
I just want the disc to be, because it's got a little spot where it goes into it, right? So I just want there to be like a little disc to cover it. Maybe it has a picture on it or something, so you don't have to keep taking it off to wash the, it's, crazy.
Truthfully though, if I was gonna get one, and it's still a little bit pricey, but I've seen the Herbie in person. I love the Herbie.
I think it was going for $80 if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is $35 worth of food though. It's a drink, and it's a large drink, a large popcorn, and a large candy, which is like cool. It's like 17, 12, and 8 or something. So it's
right. And of course, there's your fantastic car, and there's a little bit of everything that they put out, including some steel tins apparently at some AMCs as well.
Didn't see that.
But guys, let's get into the movie. Kevin, have you filled it up? We got some cosmic energy issues this week because we are talking about going to a different Earth, and I need to make sure we have the right power to the Tesseract.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, guys, from this point forward, spoiler alert. We're going to be diving deep into Fantastic Four First Steps. We are going to be spoiling this movie. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things with this movie. Kevin, I know you love to do it. Do you want to push the button? Okay, guys, last warning, spoiler alert. We're about to dive into our main topics for Fantastic Four First Steps. And here we go. Now, just a few years ago, this was the trailer at San Diego Comic-Con that first teased the Fantastic Four. This movie has changed a lot since they did that kind of modern-looking trailer version of the Fantastic Four logo to a lot of different looks. This movie's been delayed a couple of times, but it is finally here. Fantastic Four First Steps. And Kevin, would you be so kind to help me out with a little bit of plot description for Fantastic Four First Steps?
Well, I just want to go back to that one image you were showing. That, just to clarify, that was the kind of sizzler reel, I guess you could call it, where they were showcasing the upcoming next phase of the MCU. And we got that tease of that 4 with the Marvel Studios coming up. And I just remember that was a very exciting time. Let's go ahead and let's hit a little plot synopsis for Fantastic Four First Steps. On Earth 828, set against the vibrant backdrop of the 1960s inspired retro-futuristic world, the film follows Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm as they face their most daunting challenge yet. Forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, they must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic herald, Silver Surfer. And if Galactus's plan to devour the entire planet and everyone on it weren't bad enough, it suddenly gets very personal. There you go. Plot synopsis for Fantastic Four.
Okay, guys. So what I would like from you now is each your first reactions coming out of the theater, out of seeing Fantastic Four. Lacey, you are our birthday girl. I would like to give you the honor of going first.
Just general reactions?
Yeah, general thoughts and reactions.
Yes. Okay. Love the color scheme. Gorgeous. Love the 60s / future. Gorgeous. Love the forward thinking in that you got a pregnant lady doing a whole bunch of stuff. It was very, and they do call it out. They do say, you realize that everything after today, you'll be the first pregnant woman to do all these things, which is really cool. And it's a very pro-female kind of thing to do. And I think that's awesome. I think that, those are kind of like the first few takeaways that I get from the film. So I'm sure we'll talk about all the other stuff.
Mr. Reitzel, your first thoughts.
My first thought was, how was I going to see this movie? Because it was opening up Comic-Con weekend, and I didn't know I was going to Comic-Con until a few weeks before, and I couldn't see it on the preview night on Thursday because I had to drive down to Comic-Con, and I'm like, well, I'm going to be coming back early Saturday morning. I got to find a way to see it. So I ended up stopping and seeing it at one of my favorite Regals in Camarillo, California, because I wanted to see it in 3D. They had an IMAX version too, but not a lot of showings in 3D. Especially at the time that I wanted. So I saw like a 10:15 a.m. 3D showing, and well worth seeing in 3D. A lot of really good scenes lended to that effect. So it's definitely worth seeing in 3D if you still have the chance. I love this 60s retro style futuristic thing. There seemed to be a lot of practical effects as well, and that led to a lot of the wonderment of it. I also found it a little overwhelming because there was so much to see, and there was a lot of stuff I didn't know about. A lot of the call outs to stuff in the Fantastic Four comics, which I'm learning as I go and will with this podcast as well. But the thing that stood out for me the most was that the cast as a family was very entertaining to watch. And it didn't lend on all of their superpowers all the time. You didn't get a lot of that, actually. You got most of them just being them and hanging around them and just being a family, joking around and being there for each other. And that was one of the main things, first reactions that stood out to me.
I think for me with Fantastic Four, being the comic book guy around here, I have thought that this was the summer of the two hardest comic book properties to put out on film. Superman and Fantastic Four, for entirely different reasons. And I think both films in their own way nailed it. I think this film especially nailed what the aspect is of the Fantastic Four, which is the family. And going with the decision to go with the 60s retro style fits so well as a tribute to back of the day of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby when they're creating Fantastic Four and putting Fantastic Four as they're superheroes, but they're scientists as well. And they're explorers. And there's so much more than just the Avengers. And I think they did a phenomenal job of getting that aspect of this film right. And I think just nailing the family aspect of the Fantastic Four was an absolutely huge thing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I really came out of this movie, and I can understand why some people might have varying degrees of coming out of this movie because of the stylistic choices that Matt Shakman made and a few of the other things. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. Was it a perfect Marvel film? No. But the decisions they made, I think, made it the best way to bring Fantastic Four into the MCU without having a lot of weight or having to have to find a puzzle piece to fit it in. And we're going to talk more about that. But guys, what I want to talk about next is I want to talk about the cast of Fantastic Four. And we are talking about, of course, Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, and Joseph Quinn as the center, our main four of the Fantastic Four. Kevin, how did you feel about the cast of this film?
I was happy that the chemistry was there. It wasn't just about Pedro, because we've seen a lot of Pedro lately. And I felt the rest of the cast all got a chance to shine in their own moments. And I just especially, I'm going to give a shout out to Joseph Quinn as Johnny. I thought he was great because when he had a chance to figure out the communication and come up with some ideas on how to fight Galactus, communication with Silver Surfer, basically. And, him just kind of, ribbing on Pedro's character as well as Reed. There's some funny moments there. And I also want to give a shout out to Ebon Moss-Bachrach as well as Ben Grimm, the Thing. With all of that makeup and CG or maybe CG or whatever on something else that he had to wear, you still could, especially his eyes, when looking at the moment when he's realizing that Sue's pregnant and he's looking and you see the expression in his eyes, and the moments that he has with Rachel Bozeman, played by Natasha Lyonne. Those are really cool moments. And it made me want to see more of him just being grim. Not grim as in angry, but grim as in Ben Grimm. And I loved him. I just want to give him a big hug.
Lacey, what about you? What were your thoughts on our Fantastic Four?
Okay, I really dug all four of them. Papa Pascal can do no wrong, in my opinion, at this point. Like he's in everything, but he works for all those castings. So I didn't have any doubt that he was going to be fantastic in this film. I gotta say, I'm going to go with you, Kyle, on Johnny. The role was, it's an interesting role, and we got to figure out how get oh my gosh, now I've lost the actor's name. Quinn, Joseph Quinn. We have to get him a couple of roles where he's not like volunteering to kill himself for other people. Because every time he's been in a movie, this is the third movie he's been in where he's like trying to sacrifice himself for the rest of the
Stranger Things as well.
Yeah. And then sort of Gladiator, he kind of with the twin thing anyway. Gladiator 2. But yeah, so I love Ebon Moss-Bachrach. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think that, Kyle, you're right with Kevin, you're right with his interaction with Natasha Lyonne. I want to see more of her. I loved her character. Awesome. Vanessa Kirby is fantastic. I love her as this really kind of the first mom in the MCU to my knowledge. I mean, I'm not by any means a master of all things MCU, but I think this is the first time we've seen like a legit like mom, especially because half the movie she's pregnant. So I'm interested to see where they go with that. And I dig it. I dig it so much.
Well, I got to throw out a little love to Ghostbusters Quick Response Unit. We haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you up there.
What's up, Chris? Good to see you, buddy.
He says, I won't lie. I was skeptical about Pedro at first, but even then in the back of my mind, I kind of knew he would prove me wrong. And the casting was spot on. And, that's the big thing with Marvel. Marvel always seems to nail the casting. As for me, I think Vanessa Kirby steals this movie. Vanessa Kirby is the heart and soul of this film. She is absolutely amazing as Sue Storm. They portray her as strong, yet feminine, and a mother, and just across the board. And I think it's her chemistry, which is on fire with Pedro Pascal in this movie, that really ups Pedro as Reed Richards, because I was still a little skeptical about Pedro as Reed Richards. I love Pedro. I just couldn't see him as Reed Richards per se. I thought he did a good job of it. I think there's more to the Reed character, which we'll see in future installments in the MCU as they bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU proper. But to me, the other person who steals this movie is Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. He is excellent in this film. What they did too with Johnny Storm was they gave him the elements of Johnny Storm, but they toned it down a little bit so it wasn't so quite over the top, even like where Chris Evans was in that version of the Fantastic Four. He wasn't quite the player and the ladies' man that he was, though he was this confident. And I like the fact that they put on his intelligence as well, because in the comics, Johnny Storm is a very intelligent person as well. Ebon Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, I think he was amazing as Ben Grimm. I think the Four itself, they nailed it pretty damn well. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with them. Lacey, you've got some extra thoughts there?
Yeah, I want to say, I think that what I really loved about Vanessa Kirby's character in this is that she's a fully thought out character. I think in the original series with Jessica Alba, we had everyone was kind of like looking at the suit and checking her out, and she's super hot, but they didn't give her a lot to do. And then with the second one with Kate Mara, they made her like super smart and so focused that she almost came across as cold. And so with this one, I mean, it's a very like she's a very mothering character, but she's also very genuine. And I think that it kind of plays into the same thing. Like all four of these characters in this iteration are fully like thought out characters. They're fully fleshed out. A lot of times for the last two versions, we got brains, brawn, charm, and heart. And that's kind of what each of them, but this one is all four of them are all represent the same, like all four of those kind of options. So I like that all of the characters work together. Yeah.
Kevin, you had some extra thoughts as well?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to some of the other guests, or the co-stars. Walter Hauser. I thought he was great as Mole Man. He's also, I believe, in the new Naked Gun movie. I also want to give a shout out to Sarah Niles, who is on a little hot streak for me right now. I first noticed her as the counselor in Ted Lasso. She's very good in that. And then she also had a good supporting role in the recent F1 film with Brad Pitt. Liked her in that as well. So I just want to give a shout out to those guys, and of course Natasha Lyonne as Rachel Bozeman. Like Lacey says, I want to see more of her, and I also like Julia Garner. I like that we got a quick little backstory about her, so you felt for her cause, and she's basically she's being a forced slave to Galactus, and I thought that she pulled that off well. And plus, she actually got in some surfing, which I thought was great.
Nice.
Yeah. I do want to shout out a couple of people as well. I want to shout out Matthew Wood as the voice of Herbie. Herbie was heartwarming in this film. I loved Herbie in this film. And I'm going to shout out Ada Scott, who was the little baby who played Franklin Richards. This baby was absolutely adorable. The scene where you have Franklin laying on top of Sue after she had supposedly died, using the power cosmic to bring her back, and just the clapping, like to get that baby clapping like that after Sue is restored was just so well done.
I think there's a little bit of CG help there, though.
There is CG help. They've said that, but still, one of that child was just adorable, and I love that baby. But Kevin, is this Tesseract stirring a little bit? Because I feel like we might have next phase to go into.
Yes, right. We've got trivia and Easter eggs, dude.
Oh, well, Mr. Reitzel, I know you dug into the Future Foundation database files for some trivia. I dug in for some Easter eggs. So you want to help me out and let's talk a little trivia?
Yes. All right. So the first one we got here is the Excelsior rocket, which Reed, Ben, and Susan and Johnny Storm take to space, was named after the catchphrase of Marvel founder Stan Lee. In the comics, the rocket was named Marvel 1.
Yeah, I love the fact that they named it the Excelsior, what a tribute to Stan Lee, but they weren't done with the tributes yet because the film takes place in the MCU on Earth 828. The number designation comes from the Fantastic Four co-creator Jack Kirby's birthday, which is August 28th. So a great shout out there. Kevin, you got another piece? You got some surfing trivia for me?
I think Lacey had a comment. What's up, Lacey?
I was just going to say at the very end of the film, when they actually take the numbers and then like slide it over and put it with his birthday, like the whole audience was like, oh, like it was really kind of a cool, because a lot of people don't, pick up on that kind of stuff in the moment. And I think it was nice for that to be something that was very much a tribute in the moment, which was nice.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that until you just mentioned it right now. So thank you.
Oh, okay.
I need to see it again. All right, trivia number 3. Shalabal was created by Stan Lee and John Buscema for this first Silver Surfer comic book series, its premiere issue being released in August 1968. In the mainstream comic, she is depicted as a love interest of Norrin Radd, the original Silver Surfer. Radd's version of the Silver Surfer previously appeared in the 2000 live-action film Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Right there.
Yeah, there we go.
And
well, guys,
Jim Jones was at Atlanta Comic-Con 2 weekends ago, and he was just delightful.
What is Doug Jones not delightful? Come on now.
Right? Adorable and awesome. He's a huzzah.
So the Herbie robot was portrayed through a combination of wooden puppet, a remote-controlled animatronic with a functioning head and arms, and computer-generated imagery. Of course, voiced by Matt Wood, who knows a little something about playing mechanical characters, as he was the voice of General Grievous in Star Wars.
I believe also he has the record for being the longest tenured employee at Lucasfilm as well, and because he does a lot of the sound work behind the scenes for a lot of the Marvel and Star Wars productions. That dude's been around for a while. I've met him before. He's a great guy.
Real quick, too, guys, before we move on to the next piece of trivia, we need to have a little quick conversation about Herbie, because Herbie's kind of an interesting character in the history of Fantastic Four, because Herbie was actually brought in the old school late 70s, early 80s Fantastic Four cartoon to replace the Human Torch. And why would you do that? Why would you replace the Human Torch? Because we are talking about people being worried about crazy things in cartoons in the 70s and 80s, and they were worried kids would try to set themselves on fire emulating the Human Torch, so they replaced Johnny Storm with Herbie the robot for the Fantastic Four cartoon. Luckily, a lot of people grew to like Herbie, and he's become an integral part of the comic books now, as well as part of the Future Foundation. So I'm glad that they found a place for Herbie in this film. I just had to get that out there.
Yeah, when you're talking about the trivia too, I remember seeing behind the scenes of an actual working Herbie head and body, and so it's cool they actually physically made Herbie, as well as they probably did some digital touch up and effects later in the series too.
Now, Kevin, you have a little bit of trivia about our director.
Yes, Matt Shakman shot the film with as many practical effects as possible, which I really appreciated. He says also using 2001: A Space Odyssey from 1968 as an influence. And I think that's one of the things that really lent to Fantastic Four First Steps, really giving you that lived-in 60s retro-futuristic feel, which is one of the best things I love about this film.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit more into Mr. Shakman here in a minute. But Kevin, can you help me out here? Because my voice is getting a little crackly. But can you tell people about how Fantastic Four paid respect to what came before it?
Yes. Okay. So what we've got here is some fun Easter eggs. The MCU embraces its history with one of the film's best Easter eggs by referencing the first cinematic adaptation, of the Fantastic Four. This ranks among the MCU film's best Easter eggs. Early in the feature, the cast of the 1994 Marvel Hero Team film appears within the crowd, and thanks to the Fantastic Four, Alex Hyde-White, Reed Richards, Rebecca Stabb, Sue Storm, Jay Underwood, Johnny Storm, and Michael Bailey Smith as Ben Grimm. And then also Carl Ciafarello was this Thing in the bodysuit. But yeah, I believe two of them, Rebecca Stabb and Alex Hyde-White, they were also newscasters, if I remember correctly as well. And if you see the picture here on YouTube, they are at the blue carpet premiere screening. And Rebecca Stabb, I've been actually following her on social media. She had a great time. There's some great moments between her and the new the new Sue Storm, and because she's pregnant now in real life, which is great. And she was showing her bump belly and stuff. And there's some wonderful pictures on the blue carpet with them enjoying themselves with all the hoopla. And I'm really glad that they brought them to the premiere and paid tribute to this film that was never supposed to be seen.
Yeah, and then thank you, Underground. It got out there. Also, I just want to mention major shout out and props to Vanessa Kirby. She's not only pregnant, she is very pregnant during this press tour, and she is handling it like a champ.
Yeah,
and so just another reason why I kind of crush on Vanessa Kirby. But choosing Matt Shakman to be the director, it wasn't his first foray into the MCU, because he was also the director of WandaVision. Now, WandaVision director Matt Shakman slips a sly nod to the series into one of the best Easter eggs featured in Fantastic Four First Steps, rewarding attentive MCU fans with an inside joke. During a bustling sequence set in Earth 828 New York, the camera lingers to reveal a storefront sign labeled Westview Appliance, linking the moment to the town Wanda Maximoff once placed under her spell, because they all used Westview appliances in WandaVision.
I just want to give a shout out to Chris in the chat here, Ghostbusters Quick Response Unit says, say what you will about the Corman Fantastic Four, the story was actually very good despite the effects. I guess I need to get around to actually watching this.
He is 100% correct.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. I'm glad you confirmed that, because I need to find myself a copy out there on the internet, I guess.
It's not that hard to find anymore. So now, Kevin, I'm going to handle this next piece of trivia because it ties into some comic book things. Let's talk about the Future Foundation. The Fantastic Four's institution gains more layers in the MCU film. In the film, the future. Oh,
I'm sorry. You said my name, so I thought I was reading it.
No, I want to dive into this because it's an interesting tie into the comic book world.
Gotcha.
In the film, the Future Foundation operates as a philanthropic institute led by Sue Storm, tasked with advancing global peace and full demilitarization. Its presence on screen cements the team's ambition for optimism and worldwide responsibility, underscoring that the Fantastic Four stands first as scientists and explorers before they ever earn the label of superheroes. Now, in the comics, the Future Foundation is formed during the Jonathan Hickman run of Fantastic Four. This is when they brought in Spider-Man as a member of the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man has always had a very long history with the Fantastic Four. He is basically best friends with Johnny Storm outside of Ben Grimm. Peter Parker and Johnny Storm are actually very similar in age. And so they have always had a fun rivalry friendship. Reed Richards very much respects Peter Parker for his scientific knowledge. So in the comics, they brought in Spider-Man. They also brought in some other characters, including a lot of characters that have come in from Fantastic Four through the years with high intelligence. Another member of the Future Foundation was a character by the name of Alex Power. And for you comic book fans out there, you might remember Alex Power from the classic 80s comic book series Power Pack, which included a very young Franklin Richards at the time. So there's a lot of fun tied in with the Future Foundation. It still exists within the Marvel comics as well, and is an integral part of Fantastic Four storylines. In the comics, even for a time, Dr. Doom was a member of the Future Foundation. So interesting things happening there. I'm so glad they did this. I love the aspects of the Future Foundation and what it represents. So they did a phenomenal job with this. But another thing they did an absolutely phenomenal job with, Kevin, is they name dropped a ton of Fantastic Four off the wall villains in this movie, Kevin. And I got a list here. You want to help me out here and we'll kind of switch back and forth?
All right. So the first one we have here, and these are some ones that I didn't get, so you can obviously elaborate more. The Red Ghost and his Super Apes. Ivan Kragoff and his Super Apes have long been some of the Fantastic Four's most bizarre villains. In an attempt to beat America in the space race, the Red Ghost collects 3 apes to join him on a trip to outer space. But much like Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny, they gain cosmic powers thanks to the trek. The Red Ghost can turn intangible, with his apes each having distinct powers of their own. Igor the ape can shapeshift. Milko, the ape has super strength, and Pietro can use telekinesis to move objects. Kragoff was actually supposed to be played by legendary actor John Malkovich, but was left on the cutting room floor. Luckily, the 4 can be seen fighting apes in the first 5 minutes of the film, which can currently be watched online.
These are some of the more bizarre FF villains ever.
How do you cut John Malkovich even for like a couple of seconds? How do you do that?
With a scalpel?
What, Lacey?
With a scalpel?
I thought there was a door that you went through and you took control of John Malkovich. I don't know. But next up, another classic villain that was mentioned was the Mad Thinker. While never shown in Fantastic Four First Steps, Mad Thinker is referenced in the early moments of the film as attempting to destroy New York. Luckily, the superpowered family is able to stop him. While not having the ability to manhandle the Thing, the Thinker has an intellect that rivals Reed Richards and has created plenty of artificial beings, such as the awesome android, as backup. The Mad Thinker is one of those villains that has almost outgrown the Fantastic Four in that he is routinely bouncing around the comic book universe, becoming a hassle for quite a few superheroes along the way. This is very true. The Thinker started off as a big Fantastic Four villain, but he has definitely expanded in the Marvel comics and is just one of those villains that can show up anywhere, being a pain in the butt for any hero out there.
Is New York like the #1 targeted city ever of all kind throughout TV and movies that loves to be destroyed or attacked?
Well, it's the most well-known, metropolis outside of Metropolis.
and there's a big lizard who has exclusive rights to Tokyo. So I mean,
it's true, yeah. All right, next we have Diablo. With Franklin Richards set to be born, Reed makes sure to baby-proof not just the Baxter building in the film, but New York as a whole. One of the ways Mr. Fantastic does this is by taking down the 3 criminal organizations led by some classic villains. The first we'll mention is that of Diablo, a villain who based his superpowers on alchemy, holding a distinct supernatural origin, in which he gains immortality by selling his soul to Mephisto. The alchemy-based antagonist uses a variety of potions and elixirs to hassle the Marvel Universe at large. While not shown in live action, Diablo does make an appearance as an animated character in the final post-credit scene of the film.
Kevin, first of all, you have to put $1 in the jar because you said the M word.
God damn it.
Yeah, Diablo is one of the more...
Does it count if it's Sacha Baron Cohen? Or can I
it's the M word at this point. Diablo is one of the more bizarre villains in FF history. It really does. Alchemy is his big thing. It gets a little weird with him at times, but the next villain they mentioned is actually a villain who has a very long history with the Fantastic Four, and that is the Puppet Master. Because the Puppet Master is the father of Ben Grimm's love interest, Alicia Masters, in the comics. The Puppet Master is part of the trio that Reed Richards busted in the recent Marvel Cinematic Universe entry. In the source material, Philip Masters, aka Puppet Master, uses radioactive clay to take control of the minds of whoever he creates a clay duplicate of. This allowed him to take control of the Fantastic Four on more than one occasion. Needless to say, he was never too keen on Ben and Alicia having a romantic relationship, though he has sometimes pulled back from the villainous side of the equation in the comics. This is where it gets interesting, because the Puppet Master, I'm so glad they included him because of Ben Grimm's relationship in the comics, and actually even in the films, earlier films, specifically Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer, they introduced Alicia Masters. Alicia Masters is a blind artist, and she had a very long relationship with Ben Grimm on and off at times. And the Puppet Master has gone from like kind of villain to anti-villain when he realizes his main motivation is protecting his daughter. And that...
I was just going to say on a side... Go ahead, Kyle. I just had a side note. Go ahead.
Well, no, so I was just going to say his big motivation is protecting his daughter, and that's usually what tends to drive the Puppet Master to many of his schemes. Kevin?
I like that picture you're showing on YouTube. That's a classic picture. It just reminded me of Ben Grimm in the new movie. I like the fact that he can grow a rock beard. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, you just got to have the right shaver on your tools, and you're good to go. But Kevin...
You mean a bandsaw?
Sorry, Lacey?
It wasn't like a bandsaw or a...
Yeah. Like a, yeah.
Yeah.
But Kevin, I want you to tell us about another classic Fantastic Four villain.
The Wizard. The third and final crime lord to get defeated by Reed Richards in the movie is the wingless Wizard, aka Bentley Whitman. Much like the Mad Thinker, Bentley relies on his superior intellect to help in his villainous plots. With his key technology remaining to the day, anti-gravity discs on top of the routinely causing a headache for the Fantastic Four. One of the most notable things the Wizard has done is to create his own villainous super group known as the Frightful Four, originally seeing the Wizard team up with the Sandman, the Trapster, and Medulla. The team has varied its membership over the years, though normally the Wizard is front and center.
Okay, one minor correction, and this was I followed the article. It's actually Medusa, and
Medusa?
Yes, it is that Medusa, Lacey, from the Inhumans with the hair.
Right, and the Frightful Four, don't some of the members of the Frightful Four kind of go in and out of the Sinister Six?
Yes, Sandman and Trapster are two that have.
I know some things about comics, not a lot, but just some.
That was pretty good there, Lacey.
Yeah,
nice.
You get some extra web fluid this week.
Yeah.
So. Gross. Thank you very much.
Well, lastly, the one villain that they mentioned was Dragon Man. Dragon Man, aka Draconis, is an android who was originally created by Professor Gregson Gilbert during the Fantastic Four's early career. While not initially created as a tool of evil, the villainous Diablo helped bring him to life, and for quite a long time, the automation was used for evil by various villains, including Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Eventually, Dragon Man would be given a far more altruistic personality that would hang out with the children who made up the Future Foundation during Jonathan Hickman's comic book run. Dragon Man does get a name drop, but he is featured fighting the Human Torch in the animated post-credits scene. So, again, one of the great things about this movie is it really does pay homage to a lot of things in Fantastic Four, and they do a phenomenal job with it, as you've seen from our Easter egg and trivia, Kevin.
Gotcha.
So, are you ready to power up that Tesseract one more time?
Oh, God, man, I don't know. It's been kind of busy over there. Sure, you want to test it? Okay.
Any chance you give him?
Next, we have Phase 3, the plot analysis and ties to the MCU and comics, which we've covered a little bit already, but we got some more, Kyle.
Yeah, I want to do a little bit more deep dive in this section. And I was thinking about things with this film, and there's some questions I want to make sure I really give you guys a chance to dive into. And there's topic one is actually a two-part topic because I think they tie together. First of all, the Fantastic Four is the first MCU movie in a very long time to be completely self-contained. No ties to anything that had happened in the past in the MCU, because we're on a different Earth. And because we're on a different Earth, Earth 828, you also were able to get a different feel with the retro science fiction. And as we spoke before, director Matt Shakman, who famously directed WandaVision with all of its retro looks through going through different eras of television, was able to pull off this classic 60s science fiction future feel with Fantastic Four. So I especially want to ask both of you, as both not being super into the comics or not that familiar with the comic book history, how did you feel, one, about Fantastic Four being its own self-contained film in this, and also being able to pull off that retro science fiction because of it? Lacey, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so I didn't have any expectations going in, because I legitimately was able to avoid every trailer. I didn't see a single trailer for this. So I didn't have any idea that it was even set in the 60s when I went into it. So I'm going into it. I heard something about it being set in the past or in an alt universe or whatever. And I wanted to figure out how, if it's in an alternate universe or if it's in the past, how it was going to, connect in. But I think that the second that it said, 828, I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's definitely in its own, kind of, what is it, encapsulated or whatever. But I do think that it's one of the stories that we have that it works on its own. It doesn't need anything else. So not that the other ones, need other properties to make them work, but there's a reason the Avengers did so well and the individual movies maybe didn't do as well. People have their favorite characters and they go to the movies with that character in them. Maybe they don't necessarily go see all the Hulk movies or all the Cap movies if your favorite character's, Iron Man. So I think that with the Fantastic Four, it's kind of got something for everybody, because it's already got the four characters that everyone can identify with one of the four, which I think is kind of cool.
Kevin, what about you? Between being self-contained and having this retro feel to it, which I think Matt Shakman knocked out of the park, how do you feel about pulling what they pulled off in Fantastic Four?
I think it was kind of genius, to be honest with you, because we all know that somehow, some way, they're going to bring the Fantastic Four into the current MCU timeline one way. But the fact that they gave us a film that does kind of set itself in its own earth, its own storytelling, it gave them the creative freedom and also not having the MCU baggage to worry about what's happening in the current MCU and not, crossing over any lines or changing any timeline or anything like that. They're setting up their own. And obviously we'll talk a little bit more about how that's going to come, go into the current MCU. But I love that it was just in its own version of Earth, this 828, and that you got to see a world where the Fantastic Four was the world's heroes, and how, other than just being the world heroes, how they also helped each other, and how Sue, was doing what she did on the side, and everyone, and how it really allowed them to go, yeah, but you're watching this going like, well, wait a minute, where's Black Widow in this? Or, where's Thor in this? Well, they're not on 828. And that's why it allowed you to completely tell this self-contained story of Fantastic Four in this really cool retro 60s version of the world. And I thought it was a really smart thing to do.
I completely agree with everything you both of you have said. I think to do Fantastic Four, which is the first family of Marvel Comics, they were the first heroes. It wasn't Spider-Man. It wasn't the Avengers. It wasn't Thor, Captain America. It was the Fantastic Four. And to do them justice and to bring them in properly, doing this self-contained Earth and being able to establish these characters without all of the baggage of the MCU out of the gate, I think is absolutely huge. And yes, I am a little shocked that by the end of this film, we didn't see maybe how they were going to get incorporated into the MCU. We're going to talk about that a little later because I have speculation on that. But it worked perfectly for this movie. I love the retro style of the 60s because it just felt right for the Fantastic Four. Because the Fantastic Four have always felt a little bit old school, and even in a modern world, even in the comics. And I think it did a great service, and I think it made this movie that much better because I think there's a lot of people who maybe will be more willing to go see this because they don't have the weight of the entire MCU on this film. And I think that's going to be a huge thing. But one thing this movie does have, guys, is weight from past films. Obviously, we've had multiple versions of Fantastic Four movies over the years, and one of those films was Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer, which, of course, that was the Ian Goldfield, Michael Chiklis, Chris Evans, Jessica Alba version of Fantastic Four. It was a fun movie.
Lacey's laughing. She has something to say.
No, I was gonna be like, right about there.
Yeah.
Like,
For the listeners, you're pointing to your vast library, saying it's somewhere behind you.
It did not occur to me to pull my other Fantastic Fours to show.
Oh, I was regular. I'm showing them right now for the viewer. I got mine right there.
And I have the Chris. I have the other one too. The
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
The Miles Teller version, which everyone hated, and I didn't mind. I liked it. I thought it was good.
If it wasn't called Fantastic Four, I think a lot of people really liked it.
Anyway, go ahead, Kyle, regarding the Silver Surfer.
Well, not just Silver Surfer, but too. He's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. Flame on! I had to get a little Deadpool reference in there. Sorry, guys. Nice. But Rise of the Silver Surfer brought us Galactus and the Silver Surfer, and while the Silver Surfer was portrayed very well, and a lot of people consider that one of the highlights of those two films, Galactus, on the other hand, was a big cloud. And this film rectifies that problem, guys, because they do use the Silver Surfer and Galactus as the villains, but we get the traditional look of Galactus from the Marvel comics. And what I want to know about you guys is, what were your feelings on the usage and how they portrayed Galactus and the Silver Surfer, especially because really your only history with him is what we've seen on film. And I'm curious to see what you guys thought of how they handled Galactus and Silver Surfer, especially with Galactus and with the fact that in this universe, Norrin Radd was not the Silver Surfer. It was love interest Shala Bal who makes the sacrifice to become the Herald of Galactus to save her people. Kevin, I'm going to start with you on this one.
So Ralph Ineson does the voice of Galactus, and I know of the actor, but I'm not familiar with a lot of stuff that he's done. But I do like. I've probably watched like a bunch of stuff he's in, but he just doesn't stand out. But Galactus portrayed in this film, I thought was done really, really well, and I loved how he how you see like the whole black hole thing going on, and then especially when he first lands on New York and starts stomping his way through, and it was weird. I was getting flashbacks to just seeing Superman recently. Metropolis was getting divided into two. I'm like, man, these big cities are just targets. But I thought Galactus was portrayed really, really well. It was ominous. It was scary, and I loved how he's like, tied into whatever cool chair that he's in, and he like has to pop these things off the back of himself to get out of it. And then there's that weird like sucking gigantic machine thing, and how he has to feed off things and stuff like that. And I thought it was done really, really well. It was scary, and I liked how the not knowing if the world is going to be okay by the Fantastic Four themselves when people ask, are we going to be okay? And Reed says, I don't know. And I thought that was really scary, a very cool moment, and it just made Galactus's impending arrival even more tense. It was great.
Lacey, what about you? What were your thoughts on Galactus? You're muted.
Son of a biscuit. Okay. I really liked the fact that he almost comes across in this as a reluctant villain. he sees Franklin, or he sees her her belly, and he does a little like psychic investigation or whatever he does, and he knows that the child is going to have powers and he is going to be very powerful. And so all of a sudden it's like his mood just goes, okay, cool, just give me the kid, he'll take over for me, because he wants to stop. He doesn't want, he's exhausted. Like the way his character seems, it's like he wants to retire. He doesn't want to be doing this. And I think that's it's just a really interesting way to portray something that can just legit just take your planet and consume it in a moment, and you end up in a black hole. Like that's an interesting, I don't know, predicament for him to be in. And because he immediately sees his way out. I don't think that Galactus likes being the Galactus. I think that's interesting.
Lacey, you hit it straight on the head with Galactus. Galactus is not necessarily a villain per se. He is a force of nature. He is a cosmic being driven by this hunger that he cannot control. He doesn't necessarily enjoy what he does, but he understands his place within the cosmic universe. And I think they did a very good job of portraying that. He's a threat, but he's not doing this with malicious intent. He's doing it because it's his place within the universe. And I think they really did a good job with that. I think my only knock with Galactus in this film is there's a few times where the CGI on Galactus is a little rough, especially when he's fighting the Fantastic Four in New York. But as far as nailing the basis of the character, I thought they did a phenomenal job. But the other character I do want to talk about is the Silver Surfer. Because, guys, we had a little bit of change in the Silver Surfer. We have a female version of the Silver Surfer for this particular film. And I got to say, it worked. I was a little skeptical, but when I understood what they were doing, I think they did a beautiful job with the Silver Surfer as far as the effects. Kevin, you said it yourself. They actually had her surfing. I think the whole chase through the black hole area was amazingly well done. And I loved how they connected this character with Johnny Storm. And I thought they did a beautiful job with that story and telling her story. What did you guys think of the Silver Surfer? Lacey, I'm going to spin it back to you first.
I think that the Silver Surfer this time, especially being female, I think that gave depth to Johnny Storm's character. Not that we're trying to use, other characters to, make our male, I don't want to use female characters to make our male characters look better. Not like comic books have been doing that for a million years, but I think that it just gave, she had a very difficult, the actress, Garner, she had a very difficult
Julia.
role in playing a character that was supposed to be confident and determined. And then the second you figure out what's actually going on and you hear, the records that Johnny's listening to, and then he's starting to translate them, and you realize that like she's an indentured servant who is literally doing this to prevent her own planet from being eaten. And it gives her a little bit more depth. But I think that their interaction, which is interesting, when Johnny is like, no, she talked to me. And they're looking at him like, really? And he's like, oh, I know, Johnny. She's a girl. No, Johnny likes a girl. No, it's not like that. And I think that kind of fed into the fact that that's why he kind of wanted to prove himself and go in and like figure out the language and learn it so that he could translate it. Because, once he found that one sentence, that's like a Rosetta Stone for figuring out all the rest of those records that they had been pulling out of the solar system for however many years. And I think that's something that we didn't get from the first three Fantastic Four films, was Johnny actually being more than just, pretty.
Kevin, what about you? What did you think of the Silver Surfer portrayal in this film?
I was pleasantly surprised. I was wondering, like, okay, are they just flipping the genders here just because that's what they've been doing a lot lately? but then realizing, this is actually based on a real character. And I'm also a big fan of Julia Garner as well, especially from her role in Ozark. She was fantastic in that. I think she won an Emmy for that as well. And so I was happy to see what she could bring to the character. And when you first see this Silver Surfer arrive, it's very ominous, and that must be kind of a cool but yet shitty job to have, to be the herald of a world destroying dude that sends you out to just warn people first that he's coming, and you either better surrender or get the hell out of there type of thing. So I love the performance of this, and I'm really glad that you brought up the topic, Lacey, about Johnny Storm, where it gives his character a little bit of depth, because he's trying to, you see the little side plot of him recording the conversation, figuring how to communicate, and her character is kind of surprised about that, and I think respects that. Thus, why she comes in to help at the final minute. But I also like that. I mean, there was moments that I love that Johnny had with her was like, and what's up with the board, And in the back of my head, being from Southern California, I'm like, is that a Yater board? It's a famous Southern California surfboard maker, by the way. And I thought that made me giggle, because I thought that was kind of funny. And then the fact that you get to actually see her surfing through the black hole and stuff like that was great. But yeah, I thought it was great, and I'm really happy to see this interpretation brought to the screen very well.
And I did love the fact that when he got smacked, all of a sudden he was like, the board, it's not connected. It's not.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Well, I have up on the screen our two versions of Silver Surfer, because Doug Jones was phenomenal as Norrin Radd in the second Fantastic Four film. And the one thing I think that really they both nailed was I guess respect is the word I'm thinking of. There's probably a different there, but the classiness, just what the Silver Surfer was about in the
gravitas.
The gravitas of the Silver Surfer. And yes, I know some people were kind of not sure about swapping Shia LaBeouf for Norrin Radd. I think it worked in this film, and because he can always do Norrin Radd in the proper MCU as well if they choose to. But the Silver Surfer is such a popular and cult follow character, and has been for years, Lacey. I mean, you go back to Crimson Tide, when they have the whole debate about which artist handled the Silver Surfer better, Morbius or Kirby. And I mean, I think both of these interpretations are good, and I don't think there was really a drop off from this either interpretation. What do you think, Lacey?
I don't. I'm going to say the same thing I say when people talk about gender in the military. You don't use your genitals to drive a tank. If you can, that's awesome. They're not using their parts to surf, so I don't care who is on the board as long as the story's good. I'm in. I don't care what your bits are. I'm just happy to see the fun storyline.
Oh, Kevin, are you surfing over there?
I have my Silver Surfer action figure that I bought at Target.
Nice.
I'm not sure which version this is, but he looks
that
so
would
cool.
looks like the Norrin Radd version of it.
And I love the super long thin surf board that he's using. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Lacey's got great points. Love that.
I will also say that I think the surfboard, actually in both iterations, whether we're talking about Doug Jones or Julia Garner, I think that it kind of reminds me a little bit of Green Lantern's capabilities. I know not the Green Lantern movie, but it reminded me of the Green Lantern's capabilities. They don't need a surfboard. It could be, wings, or it could be anything. Kind of, it's fluid, and I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And I could be completely wrong because I don't read the comics, so nobody come at me for that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I have a third topic I want to hit real quick, because I think this is very important when we're talking about the Fantastic Four. With the Fantastic Four, it is always about family. And I'm going to be honest with you guys here. There's something that's been bothering me a little bit. I have seen some people online going after this film because they're either saying it's representing the traditional nuclear family. And it's the Fantastic Four. Family has been the number one theme of Fantastic Four from day one. They have been a family, whether pre-Reed and Sue being married, before the birth of Franklin Richards, before the birth in the comics of Valeria Richards, and all of their extended family that they have always welcomed into the Fantastic Four. And I think in every movie portrayal that they have, from the Corman version to the two with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, to the one with Michael B. Jordan, to this one. Family has always been one of the primary themes in these films. And I think, truthfully, this film nailed the family aspect of it. These guys felt like a genuine family, that they really, how much they cared about each other and how important they were to each other. And I just need to know from you guys, how are you feeling about the portrayal of family in Fantastic Four? Kevin, I see you nodding, so I'm going to let you kick things off.
Somewhere in a theater, somewhere in Los Angeles, Dominic Toretto is sitting there going, "That's right. That's what I based my family on. That's all about. It's about the family." Of course, it didn't sound as girly as I just did, but you know. But yeah, that's all joking aside. This is the thing that really stood out the most about this movie was the family aspect of this. Not like all of our superhero powers and overusing them and showcasing them. I felt that was just a tool later used to show how, you know, what they can do. But the most important thing about this is the value of family. And one of the most important things in this film, or scenes in this film, is when, you know, the world is temporarily turning on the Fantastic Four because they're not giving up their baby. And what does Sue Storm do? She comes out in the public and says, "This is about us. This is about family. We need to work together. We need to come together as a world." I'm paraphrasing here, of course. But the message was that she came out there to prove that this is why I'm not giving up my baby, because we're a family and we're going to fight to save, you know, this planet, and we need your help.
Lacey, your thoughts about the theme of family in this version of Fantastic Four?
Okay, first of all, Pedro Pascal is the number one human person who is, you know, on board for fighting for, you know, trans rights and LGBTQIA folks, and his sister is a trans woman. Like, this man would not have taken this job if he thought that it was in any way trying to say that family in this meant traditional family values. I have zero thoughts that he would just wouldn't do that. I think that everyone in this it's a found family. Yes, it's a couple and a sibling, but, you know, Ben Grimm, he's found family, right? This is it's not just about the traditional family unit of man, woman, child. It's man, woman, child, brother, bestie, uncle, whatever you want to call it, you know, brother. And then Ben is, you know, the best friend, and they're all connected by not just, you know, love and family. It's, you know, they've all been through a transformation from being up in space, and power that has to be insanely difficult to deal with. And so they are relying on each other to handle whatever may come. And I think that also it kind of shows when oh gosh, I've lost Pedro's character's first name.
Reed Richards.
Reed. When Reed is, you know, going through all the baby stuff, and he's trying to not just baby-proof the room, but he's baby-proofing New York. And he's talking about all these things. And he's also very clearly trying to do ultrasounds and readings and trying to make sure of what the possibilities are for this child, because he was conceived after everyone had powers, you know, so we don't know if he's going to be invisible or strong or bendy or stretchy or what. We don't have any idea. He could be a combination of all three, you know? And so I think that family being found family and family that helps each other through things, because that's what family does. And I think this is the perfect example of that. And I know that when this was written in the 60s, it was man, woman, child, but this could have very easily been, you know, an adoption situation like the last one where Johnny and Sue Storm were adopted, or Sue was adopted into Johnny's family. It could be, I mean, it's been done a number of ways. So I don't think that this is just saying anything about traditional family values. I absolutely reject that, hands down.
I mean, come on. Herbie felt as much as part of the family as any of the humans in it.
And he was built family.
And one of the things that I love that they did in this too, as far as the family aspect of it, was they weren't perfect as a family. You had the issues between Sue and Reed, where Sue's talking about how Reed is always going to worst case scenario and trying to prevent that, and how it bothered her, especially when it came to Franklin.
And he raised his voice.
Yeah. And the choices that they made as far as protecting their own child, as far as not just going, oh, well, if we sacrifice our child, the entire planet is safe. No, this is our child. And I think that was important in this film, Kevin.
One of the most powerful scenes in this movie for me was when Sue is pregnant and she uses her powers to become invisible so he can see the baby that he was just feeling inside her belly. And I thought that was a really cool scene there because it was powerful. It was, it definitely showed the bond between them, and also a very cool thing to do in effect. And on top of that too, I just want to give a quick shout out to them not having to make a film and showing all of the backstory of how they got the powers. It was kind of mentioned in a news thing, and you saw a little bit of that. I thought that was done really, really well. When it comes to our big superhero tentpole films, we don't need to see a lot of backstory anymore because we know the backstory.
Well, and that's a point too I want to throw out, because obviously we had that with Superman too. But one of the things I also loved about this movie, and I'm real quick, I just want to see if you guys agree with it. They didn't focus on the powers. Their powers are just kind of there.
I've been saying that, yeah.
I'm part of them, but the powers didn't define the character. The characters defined the character by their actions, their intelligence, what they represented to each other, and the family unit they were. I think that was one of the brilliant things about this film. Lacey.
And I also liked that they never went anywhere separately. When they got ready to go and talk to Galactus and confront him, there was never a thought of leaving Sue at home because she was pregnant, or leaving, Ben back just to protect people in the off chance that they failed. Or they were together as a unit, and that's how they work, and that's how they decided to do it, and that's how they're going to keep doing it. And I liked that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been saying from the beginning that having them spend more time on the characters and not their powers was a wonderful thing, but we got little touches of what they can do when it was needed.
Yeah.
Well, guys, speaking of characters, there was a character that was missing for a good part of this movie. He didn't even show up at his chair for the United Nations. He just...
Okay, real quick. Since you just brought that up, Kyle, you interrupt. The name of the country is what? Latvia?
No, it's not Latvia.
What's it called?
Latveria.
Latveria.
Yeah.
I learned after the fact, and I just want to give, before you go on to what we're going to talk about, I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Blair at work, who's a big fan of superhero movies in general. He's mentioned it was very cool that they showed you that the is it Latveria?
Yeah.
That no representative was at the table.
And there's a reason for that, because the dictator of Latveria is he is the number one villain of the Fantastic Four, and somebody who has got a much bigger role to play in the MCU. But we get our first introduction of this character in an MCU proper with the stinger of this film, Kevin. And you put this in the notes, so I want you to talk about it here, because I think it's for me, I knew what was going to happen here a little bit, but I think it's very important to get your and Layson's reactions to what happened in this stinger.
Okay, so we wait for the end credit scene, stinger, coda, whatever you want to call it. So we get a little. It's 4 years later, and of course the baby's 4 years older. And there's a scene here with Sue Storm, and she's starting to get the little willies here. Something's going on. She starts to activate her powers because she senses something or someone. And we look, and there it is. Someone. Oh, it looks like Dr. Doom, who we know coming up in Avengers Doomsday is going to be played by Robert Downey Jr. Now, from what I have learned, Kyle, especially my friend Blair, who knows a lot of insights and stuff, he says that they filmed this scene and also the scene at the end of Thunderbolts, where we get the tease, of course, of the rocket ship that's coming in, that this was all filmed either on the same day or around the same time, and that even though we don't see his face, that is Robert Downey Jr. in that hood. And from what I have learned, Kyle, that There's a reason why he wasn't at the what do you call it? The world whatever nations
The
meeting.
United Nations meeting.
Yeah. That there's a history already with the Fantastic Four that was not shown in the movie, but teased that there's something going on here. And it's speculated that Dr. Doom, who of course is Robert Downey Jr., is from this Earth, and that this is how we're going to find out eventually that they get into the current MCU world, which is 6-something, Kyle, right?
616.
616, the prime Earth or universe or whatever it is that you want to call it. So, I was wondering what we were going to see here. But what's great about this is that it's an end credit scene that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not part of the current MCU, the 616 or whatever it is. This is part of the 8, whatever it is,
828
or 828 Earth, which I thought is great because it all takes place here, and there's a backstory that we have not seen and a relationship that we have not seen yet that will come to fruition hopefully soon.
Lacey, I need your thoughts on the Stinger before I go into a rant.
I was happy to see that we are connecting things. I was interested in why they chose, and I don't need an answer to this because I'm sure it's gonna be answered in the next several films. Avengers Doomsday, I would assume that there's going to be a bunch of lead-in movies, and like the Doomsday is probably not going to be. It's not going to be a one and done Doctor Doom. That's an assumption. I don't know. Okay, but I think that it's interesting. It's interesting they started with Silver Surfer and then went to Doctor Doom instead of the other way around, which is what everybody else has done. I don't know if they did it on purpose just because it made sense this way because. The intergalactic sort of situation of using different Earths. I kind of feel like with the Stinger from Thunderbolts, with the ship and everything coming through, I want to say in my mind, this right now, Dr. Doom, seconds after this is over, Dr. Doom stands up, grabs the kid, disappears or teleports or whatever. And that they have to get in the ship and they're going after him. That's how I'm seeing them joining the MCU. Is I'm seeing them trying to save their son from being raised by someone who knows his potential. I am not a comics person, so could be completely wrong. I don't have any information from the comics. I don't know I never knew until this moment that there was a child from the Fantastic Four. So
I like where you're going with this, Lacey. I like it.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was. I'll watch Robert Downey Jr. read a phone book. So if that's him behind the hood, then great. I like I said, I would imagine that Doomsday would be like the launch point for when Doom, because isn't that kind of how it's always been? Like Thanos was the big bad, and it took.
Kyle's waiting. He's just waiting to jump in here. He's Kyle's getting itchy. Come on, Kyle. Go.
Let me drop some knowledge on you.
Yes.
First of all, you see that cute little adorable 4.5-year-old child that's on screen talking to Dr. Doom from this Stinger. That child is the most powerful being in Marvel, whether it's comics, movies, or otherwise. That is a Franklin Richards who not only is he incredibly powerful, he's something else too, Kevin. And this is why it's even more important. Franklin Richards is a mutant because he was born with his powers, which is what makes a mutant. They are born with their powers. Franklin Richards, Sue Storm's
You said the M word, by the way, not Mephisto.
I am very aware I said the M word.
You said the wasn't M
Mephisto. So, Sue Storm's pregnancy and the birth of Franklin Richards form central events that directly shape the narrative as Galactus targets the infant's latent power. Although that extraordinary briefly surfaces with Franklin when Franklin resurrects Sue during the climax of the scene and the post-credits reveal the child's far greater significance, startling audiences with the scope of his potential within the wider saga. Sue Storm's pregnancy and the birth of Franklin Richards form central events that directly shape the narrative. Although the extraordinary surfaces, I mean, here's the thing. Franklin Richards is how the Fantastic Four, for how Doctor Doom is at least going to get into the MCU proper. I have a feeling how the Fantastic Four will get into the MCU proper is using that bridge technology that Reed Richards developed in this film. But Franklin Richards is going to be responsible for bringing Doctor Doom, because of Doom's manipulations, into the main Marvel Cinematic Universe. And those powers, and through Doom's manipulation, will lead us to the events of Avengers, Secret Wars, and Battle World. Franklin Richards they are going to turn this child into the centerpiece. You thought the Infinity Gauntlet was powerful? That's one of those isotoner hand warmers that Dan Marino used to advertise in comparison to how powerful Franklin Richards is.
That was not on my bingo card that you're going to bring up.
No.
Dan.
Wow, that was delightful. Thank you.
This is huge. This is going to be absolutely just going for it all with Marvel, especially in the fact that we have no more films till Avengers Doomsday, guys. Avengers Doomsday is the next film on the docket. We have a couple TV shows, but Avengers Doomsday is the next MCU film on the docket right now, as it stands. Yes, Lacey.
Is Franklin more powerful than Brie Larson's character of Captain Marvel?
Fly, SWAT. Yeah.
Okay.
Franklin Richards could literally change the reality of dimensions.
Okay.
He can create new realities.
So
he is that powerful.
Okay. Out of curiosity, the photo that you're showing with the last one. Yeah. Okay. So you've got Franklin in the middle. Yep. This one, the one where Franklin's in the middle. He's holding his fists up. They're white. Where he's got some sort of power coming out of them. Then behind him, you see the folded arms, which are obviously Doctor Doom with the gray green cloak. Above those are two more hands. Is that something that we're supposed to know?
Not necessarily. This particular picture was taken from a mini series where, Franklin,
so you're using this as an example of what Franklin looks like.
If you did a little bit older Franklin, what he looks like.
Okay.
The hands behind him are actually Kitty Pryde from the X-Men.
Oh, yay.
This is an X-Men Fantastic Four crossover event, but this was a big image to use here.
Got it. Okay.
There's a lot of things that could happen here. Doomsday is going to be huge, and I mean, it might make the events of Infinity War and Avengers Endgame look minuscule. That's how.
I'm not going to say that, Kyle. That's yeah. I mean,
so what you're
saying, it's going to take a lot to.
Earlier,
it's going to take a
Thanos alone.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Stop. Hold on one second. It's going to take a lot to overshadow Infinity War and Endgame. That's a bold statement, Cotton. Lacey, what were you saying?
I was just saying. So you're saying that because. When it came to Infinity War and Endgame, they really heavily relied on Captain Marvel, just because when she showed up, it was kind of like, hey, I'm here now, we're good. I know there's other factors, but see, what you're saying is that if Franklin Richards had been born a little bit earlier, he could have taken on Thanos with no problem.
Yeah. Let me put it this way, Kevin. When I talk about this, I'm not talking about the significance of the movies. I'm talking about the significance of the events of the movies. What Franklin Richards could be capable of doing is going to make the blip look like it was nothing. Yeah. That's the effect on the MCU is what Franklin Richards could have.
He's got to have some type of there's got to be something that has to keep him in check, because if you make him too powerful, and that's what the problem with a lot of the comics are. If you make him too powerful, then what's the point?
But that is the point of what I think part of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars will be, is Reed Richards developing the ways to keep Franklin Richards in check. But Dr. Doom's trying to exploit that power to its fullest. So that's the balance there. So that's why this stinger is so absolutely huge.
Which also leads us to believe that if Mom and Pop Richards are going to be using their abilities and or just trying to reason with him as parents, we might end up having a villain once again being talked down instead of defeated, which is interesting.
And we could have a father becoming a villain in his own right too. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
But guys, we have been talking Fantastic Four here on the 100th episode of True Believers. It has been an honor to have my future foundation here with me to talk this wonderful film. But we're not done with the Marvel slate because we still have a few things for this year. Now, out right now, actually, is Eyes of Wakanda, an animated series all about Wakanda. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'm looking forward to checking it out. We have Marvel Zombies coming for October. But the show I'm most curious about, and I already can say this, I promise every listener out there, it is already Kevin's favorite Disney Plus show because it gives more validation to Iron Man 3 because Ben Kingsley returns as Trevor Slattery for Wonder Man. And, anytime anything gives validation to Iron Man 3, it jumps up to Kevin.
That's the only reason why I'm going to watch this show. I'm going to see where they're going with Trevor. I love me some Trevor.
I think this show is going to be kind of She-Hulk-esque in the comedy aspect of it and what they're going to do with it. But there's some interesting things that could possibly come out of this. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. Our actor who played Black Manta in the Aquaman films will be playing Simon Williams, a.k.a. Wonder Man, in this show. So,
is it Yahya Abdul Mateen II?
Yes. So.
So curiosity, you've got the two slates where one of them is the slate for everything's coming up, and then the other one just says Wonder Man. Is that saying that Wonder Man TV show is going to be followed by Wonder Man film, or is that just
Wonder Man will be strictly a TV show on Disney Plus coming out in December? However, another thing has just started filming, in fact, and that is Spider-Man Brand New Day. Tom Holland returns as Peter Parker. The rumors are this movie will come out between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, much like what the second Ant-Man film kind of came out and Captain Marvel came out between the two Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. And we look at the schedule as it stands right now, May 1st, 2026, Avengers Doomsday, July 31st, 2026, Spider-Man Brand New Day, and May 7th, 2027, Avengers Secret Wars. Now, there was at one point, and Kevin, we had a conversation about this off mic, Avengers Secret Wars was intentionally thought of to come out before the end of 2026. But because of just wanting to get it done right and proper, it had been moved to May of 2027. So we have that. There is one other Marvel project that's in the works. Paul Bettany is returning as the Vision as for a Vision Disney Plus series that will be picking up with that character after the events of WandaVision. That is coming in 2026 to Disney Plus as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that character. But guys, whatever's on the slate ahead for the MCU right now, we have been talking Fantastic Four first steps. We have taken our 100 first steps here on True Believers with our 100th episode. I want to thank all you amazing Marvel fans and comic book fans out there for joining us for all of these episodes.
Thank you, Chris, for dropping in. Appreciate you.
Yay.
We've got a lot of exciting things coming. We've got a lot of exciting things for next year. There's still some rumors we could have a Punisher special before the year's out. We will have season 2 of Daredevil Born Again we know now Jessica Jones is coming back as well. Very excited. But guys, Fantastic Four, if you have not seen it yet, go see it. It is a lot of fun. It is a great family movie. It's a great movie if you're just getting into the MCU because you don't have the weight of it. So, guys, go see it. Check it out. Enjoy it. Of course, you've been watching the show on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. I feel like I just got buzzed by a Silver Surfer. We're all over social media. You can find us all over Facebook with all of our group pages. Of course, we're also on Twitter. We're on Blue Sky at FanPod Network. You can find us on Instagram, Threads. And, of course, you can find me, Kyle, on social media at AKyleW on Twitter and Blue Sky and at AKyleFandom on Instagram and Threads. Kevin, where can people find you on social media?
Spartan_Phoenix on all the socials and Blue Sky, Spartan Phoenix.
And again, Lacey, I know you don't have a huge presence on social media, but I know you're out there in a couple of places people can find you if they look hard enough.
Yes, I'm on Discord and I'm on Letterboxd. Yes, and also
at Lacey Pants. You got to say it, Lacey Pants.
At Lacey Pants. I was getting there. Lacey with 2 E's, no Y. And I'll be at Dragon Con, and I will have special Fandom Podcast Network ribbon badges, so badge ribbons, whatever they're called. So come find me in the military sci-fi room.
There you go, Dragon Con. Miss it. Always have a blast at Dragon Con. And of course, too, if you want to know more about the Fandom Podcast Network, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, scan that QR code on your screen. It'll take you to our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com, where you can listen to all of our great audio podcasts as well. And give us some love on TeePublic. All the sales on TeePublic. Just see there, we have great shirts, mugs, hats. There's hoodies. There's assuming Kevin doesn't rack the Tesseract too much, and we. But you know.